now, get $100 million and see that problem. That problem gonna show up loud and clear. You see what I'm saying? Like, these people get in trouble right now, bro, and we may laugh at, but we don't even see the signs. The whole time though. But that's a problem. That's a problem. All right, I'm gonna give you an example. I ain't gonna give you no other name. But it's guys that's in the league getting in trouble with women. They got fetish with women. They doing little stuff because when you got all that type of money, dog, like, bro, that stuff shows up because now it's at your leisure. Now you can get any woman you want. You can pick and choose. You see what I'm saying? So it ain't all peaches and cream because, like, as men, I truly feel like as men, bro, we need to sit down. We need to talk more about, like, on some real time porn, right? And it's going to a whole nother level because, but what porn does to your brain, it desensitizes your brain. And so you may think like, hey man, she look good or whatever. No, you looking at her as an object, not as a human being. You see what I'm saying? But I see that shit all the time from my team. My teammates talk about stuff like from other players and all these other stuff, bro. That's real, dog. So like, just because you got all these blessings, all this money, and all this shit, like that shit, bro. Everything ain't peaches and cream because whatever problem that you may have deep down inside that you're not telling nobody about, get some bread, get some money, get whatever you desire. I promise you, that shit gonna show up, and you're not gonna be able to hide it because you can't. Like, cause when you get that bread though, who you are really comes out. I'm just gonna shoot it straight. So you got to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do and who you're supposed to be before you even get to that level. That's why you see these guys are getting in trouble doing this stuff. Like, but they ain't no accident, dog. Like, now if it's wrongfully accused, then that's different. So, but that's real though. So everything ain't peaches and cream.
I think he's actually talking about the Shannon Sharp situation as well, and he's talking about kind of like what Cam was addressing about, once you get access to money and you get access to everything else, it's just going to amplify those desires that you already had inside of you. You know what I mean? So if those things are not dealt with, and, he said we need to have a real conversation about what porn does to young men. We've talked about that on here multiple times. Like, that sets you up for failure from the beginning. But it was just interesting to see him. I didn't even know he was like thinking like this, and to see him like come out and talk about like, this is what men need to be talking about, having these conversations about, the things that men just do and just expose themselves to and just think is normal or they think is cool. And then, yeah, when you're a guy who has a lot of fame, a lot of money, you're attractive, you're good looking, yeah, now you're going to come up with ways to justify you being a man of God and still living that lifestyle. You're going to try to rationalize those things. But we need to have men that are willing to dismantle those things and talk to these younger men so that they don't create those bad habits and they don't create that cycle of abuse and all of these excuses that they come up with along the way. So I just thought that was interesting.
I saw that clip a while ago.
Okay.
That's a good clip. I think we're bad at discerning. We're bad at promotion. We're bad at, even in the church, you promote the wrong people. You know how many people are coming out abusing, like I just saw another thing, this pastor abusing women in Mexico and crazy wow. Stuff. And I think we give people access to what they shouldn't have access to. Right. And the Lord doesn't do that. And when we truly trust in you, I don't know, for me, I've dealt with this in the past, but like, how we see people like God, how come they're able to get this and get that, but I'm still stuck here. I can't, yeah. I feel like I'm losing. I'm not, but what you realize is God is keeping you. Like when you put your trust in God, you're not going to go after those things. And that means you're going after other gods. So then you're going to get access to those things because you're going after the desire that God didn't put in you, but something else put in you. So then you get access to it because you're working towards that, right? But then you're going to have to deal with the consequences of that. Like a lot of these people in football, like there's nothing wrong with football, but if you are not prepared to deal with everything that comes with it when you get to that higher level, and which, if you look, a lot of people along the way that are helping you, they're not prepared to prepare you.
Yeah.
Right. So they're looking at it in the wrong way, a perverted way. Right. They're looking at it a lot of times to use you.
Right.
Right.
Transactional.
So, exactly. So because it's transactional and they don't really care about you in the right way and in the way that God cares about you, it causes more damage than good down the line. But it's funny because sometimes, things take so long for us as believers because we're not getting it, and we just go through it. We cycle through over and over again until we recognize it, and God says, "Okay, you're ready for this."
Yeah.
You go through the test and you pass the test, and now he can trust you with what he couldn't trust you with before, right? And that's responsibility. So now you're able to carry something because God's loving. He's not going to put on you what you couldn't carry.
Right.
He's not going to give you more than you can hold on to, right? So he equips us for it. But we see this with the world's going to give it to you. Satan's going to give it to you, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna he wants to throw that in front of you.
Yeah.
He
It's a
wants
way to control you.
Exactly.
Mm.
And now he's controlling you by the things that are already inside of you.
Yeah.
You've already been programmed. You've already been set up. So once
That's
it comes,
the biggest trick, because you feel like it's God blessing you. So you can even trick yourself in that way, where Satan can show up, you know,
Right.
and
there's
go ahead, James.
no, I was gonna say there's another aspect too, which is this is the first time that we have, because men, we look at everything from the conquest standpoint. So all the men that came before us when we were younger, when they talk about women, they're talking about it from a conquest standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
They're not talking about the child support. They're not talking about their houses being taken. They're not talking about wages garnishing. They're not talking about women showing up outside their private residence screaming. They're talking about it specifically as just collecting female parts. You know what I'm saying? We live in a time now where we see child support, we see 50K a month for children, we see careers ended. So the guys that lived in these glory days never told you about the pain and heartache. They talked about the female conquest as glory.
Mm-hmm.
And now we live in an era of Brittany Renner. We live in an era where a woman can be 27 and go to a prospecting young NBA player that's 17, get pregnant by him when he's 22, and have her life set up and it totally be transactional.
Yeah.
And whereas the men before would tell us the glory of it, man, I got to be with Brittany Renner. Now, PJ Washington, he has a child with Brittany Renner, can't come and tell us, dude, I got to smash Brittany Renner, because we would laugh at him because he's stuck with Brittany Renner and he has to pay her $50,000 a month. That's not a win to this generation.
Yeah.
Because the men of old wouldn't tell us what they're paying. They would just tell us the conquest story.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So we live in a time now where the men that would have told those stories about the conquest and bragged about it, we know when we look at the TMZ report, we look at all the report, we look at all the women who are on the sideline, like he's talking about, once you get 100 millions, they're all going to show up. We now know, we have evidence, public evidence, that you may be bragging about what you're able to collect via Instagram, but we know that you're strapped for $80,000 a month because you have 5 children somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the flex that would have existed in the 90s, 2000s, all the rappers talking about it, turns out it's not a flex. We look at Dame Dash talking on Breakfast Club about how he spends $200,000 a year on child support. I could give my baby moms this and I could give my baby moms that. He's talking like that, but that's not a flex. That's generational wealth going down the tubes because you can't control yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what was once considered a flex in a generation or two ago is now we're watching these young men, watching PJ Washington go to pick up his son and Brittany Renner and her mom filming him, trying to demonize him.
Yeah.
Right? But he did that to himself. So the young guys today are recognizing, because Deion Sanders just did that. He brought Brittany Renner to Colorado.
Yeah.
And she talked to the players and she said, yeah, the Instagram girls, we're checking on you. We know who's going to get signed. We know who's. So these young men are being forced to the reality that, just like Shannon Sharp is 57. Off of this quote unquote exciting few months of entertaining a 23-year-old woman, she never caught a pass. She never took a hit. She never went to training camp. She never was in a weight room. Shannon Sharp had 2 hip surgeries. She never went through a surgery, and she collected 20 million for just having sex with him.
Yeah.
So that the men that were able to brag about their victory and conquest, when the real Shannon Sharp can't brag to anybody about his conquest. We know he lost. That's $23 million that this woman never had to do anything aside from lay on her back. How is that a flex?
Yeah.
And so those guys are seeing that all these dudes that would have bragged to us in the 90s and the 2000s about what they were getting, they've lost generational wealth because they can't control themselves.
That is the fact.
And so that's why I feel like it's shifting, because watching the women that you had having children with go on and do OnlyFans and do all these other things, how is this good? You know what I'm saying?
It's funny because Jason Wilson actually brought that up to Cam too about generational wealth and about how he doesn't understand that concept because of how he's living his lifestyle. You know what I mean? So again, I think people should go definitely watch that interview.
But even generational wealth on a level of, because what's more important, money or giving your kids substance,
Yeah.
wisdom that is, substantial wisdom that they can
Hmm.
pass on to their kids, right?
No,
If they
definitely, definitely.
if they don't have to, because even that, like, yeah, we see the cause and effect of those things, but and that can cause people to be like, bring the thing with Sanders, bring in Brittany Renner there, and that can cause them guys to fear. But even greater than that, what is the power? What do you replace it with? What's greater than those things that you're not just you're scared, but you can see that there's way more out there for you. There's way better, and connecting with that, the power that a lot of these young men are under right now is because the men before them and the men before them were under that same power, right?
Right. And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that this is a conversation that was never had before. Now, we're talking 22, 19-year-old, 22-year-old young men. Maybe the idea of family and legacy is through the lens of money. They can't see the legacy, like you said, in terms of fatherhood and leadership. They can't see it yet. So if fear causes them to walk in a certain way where eventually they get to see it, I think it's a good thing. Now, they have to seek out truth, but at the same time, I think that this is a new time where they're seeing that what those men used to brag about as being a flex is not really the flex that it was. So if it comes to fear, and if change comes to fear, and it ushers you into an era of like, okay, I fear this, but let me get to know why. Let me start listening to people like Jason Williams and other men. Why are you saying what you're saying? I'm hoping that a lot of them wouldn't just fear it, but they would learn to understand why it's good. You know what I'm saying? Why it's good to change your mind, not just to protect your money and your wealth legacy, but your family legacy, your emotional, your spiritual. I'm hoping that some of that would attach itself to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The
Yeah,
message has got to be, yeah, this is something that you don't want to get caught up in doing, but this is where you should be looking towards. You should be looking towards marriage, starting a family, starting a legacy. That's where you got to direct them towards the thing that they need to be looking to because that is like you see where the fear leads is that can just lead to, well, I'm just going to make sure I'm strapped up and Cam Newton even said it, I fear divorce more than I desire to be married. Like if you just put that fear there, it allows them to jump to all these other conclusions that are not productive, but it allows them to continue down that